Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome along.
Hello. Yes. Okay. We are absolutely live. We are now live. Yes.
Not pretend live anymore.
Not pretend live. We just had an impromptu warm up session.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. You're joining us for the EFRA 1/10 touring car European Championships at Wiener Neustadt in Austria. We're here with Infinity and Montec, and of course EFRA, our media partner. If this is your first time catching anything like this and you want more information on it, you can always have a look at their website, efra.ws, for more information. Coverage brought to you this weekend by myself, that's James Stewart. We've got Matt McCallum, and
Hello.
we've got Harry Bamford on the camera. So we are all here and set up. So you're joining us as heat number 2 goes out of the second round of timed or time practice. So this time practice is going to be used to reseed for the first round of qualifying, which is going to be held later. So we've had a wet track earlier on today. At the beginning of the day, so really the first dry run was
the rumours were quite startling, and we've got here and it's actually just quite nice and pleasant and sunny.
It is, yeah, it's quite surprising.
We were promised a tsunami.
Yes,
we didn't get one.
We were expecting to be underwater, but yeah, it was. We've spent most of the journey out here, the extended journey out here. But more on that later. Yeah, we spent most of the journey sort of plotting things that we could do to keep you entertained. But as it is, we can bring you the racing. So you're seeing on screen at the moment just the entry to the main straight. So these are just coming out of the final chicane. Okay, and we're now changing to our panning camera view that we've got of the track. Let's just see what car we're following at the moment. Let's just see as he comes out onto the main straight. It's this yellow, fluoro yellow coloured car that we're following. It's car number 6. So that is Blažej Orlowski. Not sure if he's any relation to Michael, actually. I would imagine he possibly is. So just following him around. Car looks pretty decent.
Part of the Orlowski dynasty.
Part of the Orlowski dynasty, indeed, yes. This is the stock class we're watching, so this is 13.5 Blinky, these cars. Heading round. Lead car at the moment is car number 2. What we're seeing at the moment, when we say lead car, they are seeding them over their best 3 consecutive laps. That's what's going to go forward for the seeding or the heat resort for qualifying. So the aim of this one is not necessarily to do your fastest 5-minute run, but to find yourself some space on the track and pump in 3 consecutive quick laps. So if you're quite quick but catching traffic, sometimes a good strategy is to back off a little bit rather than catching a gaggle of cars. Is to buy yourself some space. Back off, give yourself a little bit of an opportunity, and then you can sort of use that gap that you've got yourself on the track to drive 3 unhindered laps and try and get yourself as far up the order as possible and get yourself in the best qualifying heat you possibly can. So if we can pick out the 2 car, let's just see if we can spot him going around anywhere. He is. Look for him now. Okay, so the 2 cars, this orange-coloured car that we are now following with the black rear wing. So this is Pierre Delorme, French driver. They're actually the drivers in this. They appear to be going 2 by 2 or 3 by 2 by okay. But we've got all of the French drivers. Seemingly grouped together, or 3 of the 4 French drivers grouped together at the front of this heat.
Is that you continuing the flood theme? The animals going in 2x2?
Well, yeah, possibly.
Right.
So, yes, no arcs necessary. Although there is an arc banner about somewhere. Yeah, there's some arc banners at the end of the main straight, if you look.
Yeah.
So there we go. We've already veered miles off. There we go. There's the arc banners. So yeah, there we go. So got a car on his roof at the moment, just in the centre of the circuit. It's just been righted. So let's follow this car around for a little bit, see what his car looks like. He's got one of the quick cars just catching him, so he does the gentlemanly thing, pulls out of the way. Also, sometimes a bit of an opportunity if you're in a heat and or in a practice session and you can see someone out there appears to be very, very quick. It can be quite valid sometimes if you're not sure what the issue is or where you're losing time with your car. It can be quite valid to sort of drop in behind someone and give you an idea as you're following them where you're gaining or losing time. You don't want to do that on an actual proper 5-minute timed run, obviously, because you're giving away time. But on a 3 consecutive lap run, sometimes it can give you a bit of a perception where your car's good and where your car isn't, and what you can think about working on when you get back to the pits and what changes you might want to make to it to alter that. Just checking, are we still going live?
Yes,
we are still
live. We're on Facebook now as well.
Okay.
So we want to say hello to everybody who's joined us on Facebook. We're, of course, with the faithful on YouTube. Those in the know go on YouTube, but we welcome everyone on Facebook as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's
great to have you with us.
It is, and it's potentially a whole new audience, really, of not sort of preaching to the converted. So that was the end of that qualifying heat, so everybody heading in. So you'll notice some of these guys being a little bit crafty here. They're not actually pulling their car miles off the circuit. What they're trying not to do is pick up too many marbles on the tyres as they're pulling in.
If I tell Fenix Favoretto that we're live, he doesn't think we're live. If I
does.
tell him we're live,
we are live.
Does he hear me telling him we're live if he doesn't know we're live? I don't know. But plenty of people are telling him that we're live.
We are absolutely live.
We've got Robert Jacques, we've got Nottingham College TV, that's cousin Paul, and Gavin Clinch said, about time, James.
Yes, thank you, Gav.
Yeah, better late than never.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty of momentum being gathered over on Facebook as well. Lots of people.
Seeing, I can see some names. We've got Andrew Edwards. I can spot from Skun. So he's tuning in all the way from Scotland to watch us.
Zachary David says, "What's up, RCTV?" Zachary David then says, "Give me a shout out, RCTV, on live video." Well, Zachary, if you continue watching for another half an hour, I will then give you a shout out.
Well,
but not until then.
Well, you've just done it.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Oh. Anyway.
Okay. It's done.
It's done.
It's done. But some familiar names there popping up in the feed.
Indeed.
So, all good. That's good.
Phoenix is with us. He says thanks.
Phoenix, okay, that's good. Phoenix is with us. Sorry, wasn't working on his tablet. Okay. So this is heat number 3. Heat number 3 that's running. Someone just binned it off the end of the main straight. Quite a spectacular accident.
It's kind of like a cut through, isn't it? That bit where they go onto the front straight, just in front of themselves.
A little bit, yeah. It's this track it's different to quite a lot of tracks in that it's laid out with sort of multiple circuit configurations. The other thing that's a bit odd for a EFRA Euros is the direction that they're running around the circuit. For most of the UK drivers, this looks fairly standard, that they're running around clockwise as viewed from the driver's rostrum. But the normal sort of continental way of driving that's normally adopted at EFRA meetings is anti-clockwise, which is I don't know. It's a bit not off-putting. You get used to it, but it's different. It's definitely different when you're up there. You stood up there on the driver's rostrum, having done a few meetings myself driving anti-clockwise. I know what it takes to adapt. So yeah, it's a bit of a it's a bit of an interesting one. That it can catch you out. Most of these drivers are, they're really good drivers. It's not going to unduly affect them. They'll acclimatise to it easily enough.
Yep, and Robert Jack said replay because there was quite a big crash on screen. I'll be introducing replays hopefully in time for qualifying.
Yeah, so we will be live with a round of qualifying later as well. Planned for this evening. It's going to be quite a long day, I think. It's going to be this round of seeding practice. There's going to be a short break then whilst they complete the reseed. And then they will run one round of qualifying before they have the opening ceremony, and then there's also a banquet for the drivers of traditional Austrian food, by all accounts.
And we love a bit of that.
We do.
We really do. RC Fun 44 says, I'm back. Well, we're glad you are.
Yes.
It's great to have you back.
It's great to have everybody back.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us. Zachary David, that hit the spot. He said, you're awesome, and he's putting us on the big screen.
Andrew Edwards says it's Sunny Schoon that he's watching from as well.
Zachary, we'd love a picture of us on your big screen. You could put it in the comments as you're watching on Facebook. That would make our day, that would.
Yes.
And that would earn you another shout out, but not until then.
No. Okay. So we are watching some of the track action here. Let's just see what car we see. You'll have to excuse us. We're just getting a bit of a lag on what we're actually seeing on the camera. So there we go. That's we're following. Let's just have a look at the yellow-coloured car through the infield. So Harry is on the case with that. Let's see if we can pick up car number 1, Danny Booker. Is he still running? He's just about to come out onto the main straight now. It's the other yellow-coloured car. So looking at where he is on the rostrum. So this is Danny Booker, one of the UK drivers, very quick stock driver in the UK, normally in the top 5 of the stock nationals. So let's just follow his car around as he comes out onto the main straight.
I've introduced a bit of transparency for the timing bar.
Oh, okay. Right, okay, yeah, that's helping.
Yeah,
we can see now the sort of progress where they are around the track as well. Oh, okay, and also we're not losing the cars behind the timing bar. Yeah, that's helping. Yeah, I got you now. Yeah, that's definitely going to make it easier for people to follow what is going on. So, yeah, we've been following Danny Book around just as they're coming to the end of this heat. So you'll see the drivers pulling in pretty shortly. I think 5 minutes is about to be called. Can't be far off. Okay, there we go. Heard the call from Pierre, the race announcer, that it's done. You might actually spot as well if you do get any camera shots of us up here in the pits this weekend. You'll actually spot Bjorn's camping out with us as well for the weekend. So we have an interloper in the tent. So you might see him in the corner of the shot.
I'll be able to show you that in a second, actually.
Will you? Okay.
I'm gradually getting up to speed.
We're gradually getting all of the cameras. Yeah, Matt's working pretty hard. Here we go. There we go.
Hang on. They can't see it yet.
They can't see. Okay.
They
can't see
viewers.
it.
Here we go.
Here we
Do you want to see it?
Here we go.
And now that shot with sound, with added sound.
That shot with added sound.
Yes.
Okay, so you can.
So
you can
thumbs
see us.
up for sound.
There's Harry.
How's our sound?
Bjorn's on the camera as well. He might not realise it, but he's on the camera. He's in the corner of the shot.
Yes.
So Bjorn doing the race announcing and the timekeeping for the weekend. So joining us up here. So yeah, you can see our view. I think with the sun as it is, Harry's going to have a good case of trucker's arm by the end of the weekend. So this should be interesting to watch. This is the this is the top heat of stock. So we're going to watch Jan Rathieski going off first, the 2 car. So that's the white, orange and black coloured car. He's just going under the driver's rostrum now. He's coming out towards the main straight now, so he's the first of the cars round, so he was quickest first time out. As we're sort of getting up into these top heats, you'd expect the drivers to be pretty well sorted. As I say that, he spits it onto his roof, so that's probably going to be Max Mackler now. Automatics driver picks up the lead. He's the white-fronted, sort of orange-reared car, so let's follow him as he's off down the main straight. So this is your lead car now. So just waiting for everybody to pump in their third lap, and then we'll start getting a bit more of an accurate picture whereabouts everybody is. So Max Mackler still leading this one. He's done 13.5 best lap. Average over 3 laps is 13.640. So great consistency there. There's less than a tenth between his fastest and his average. It's really quite difficult to do, especially, I don't know if you can hear in the background with the wind picking up as well. With this sort of new breed of very high downforce body shells that everybody's running, I think Max looks like he's running a Protoform Type S. I think it's one of the more popular shells out there. I think the other things you'll see are the Montec Racer, and I think there's a few bitty designed JP8s out there on the track as well. But with these very high downforce body shells, you do tend to feel it a bit more. If there's any sort of gusts of wind, the body shells are more affected by it. The cars do move around a lot more, and it's quite pronounced, the aero effect that the shell has on the car and the feeling of the car. So you will notice that when the wind picks up, all of a sudden the cars can suddenly start looking quite loose and moving around quite a lot. So let's see if we can, I think Martin Hoffer's out there. He's on the main straight now. So is that, no, that's not Martin Hoffer. That's the 5 car. That is Robin Reedman. So let's see if we can, let's have a bit of a run with Hoffer. He is the 7 car. He's the white-fronted, yellow-reared car, so quite similar. He's just coming out to the main straight now. He's the last of the cars on the main straight. This is Martin Hoffer's car, again, sort of renowned ETS stock competitor. So a bunch of these guys looking very quick. I mean, Martin's car looking very stable, just watching Max edge away from him. So as we were saying earlier, Martin will be taking in this information, trying to figure out whereabouts Max is pulling time on him and gaining time on him, and he'll be using that information to try and make improvements on his car. And of course, it's not always going to be the case that he's losing time in every corner. It may well be that he's faster in some parts of the track and slower in others, and it might add up to a net loss, but there may well be sections of the track where his car is better and is working better, and it's always a bit of a compromise, really. Touring cars are pretty complex when it comes to setting them up. There's a lot of adjustments that you can make, and as Martin throws it off the circuit, that's not going to help him. But because of their complexity, quite often when you make a change, you'll improve the car in one area and you'll make it worse in another. So it's always a little bit of a compromise that you're making with the setup, and you ultimately want to get the balance of the car right, so that you can get the car around the circuit as quickly and as comfortably as possible.
Would you say it's perhaps the aggregation of marginal gains?
Some would, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people would indeed say that. That adds up to, it all adds up, basically, is what you're looking for. One of the tuning options for this weekend has been removed, as it's a controlled additive for the weekend. So that's normally a fairly big tuning option for you to use different additives on the tyres to alter how the car or how the tyres work with a control additive. There'll still be a little bit of tuning with that, as in the amount of time that you put it on the tyre, and any sort of prep that you do, or how would you clean the tyre before the additive goes on it. But it's certainly a fairly big sort of part of the tuning armoury that's been taken out the window. It's one less confusing thing for the drivers, and they'll be quite thankful of that, to be honest, because with practice having been not rained off, they went out and did practice earlier. But with that scenario unfolding, they'll be short on information that they've gathered. So any variables that you can minimise always help in that situation. So now waiting for heat number 5 to go out. This is the first of the F1 heat. So we've got 4 heats of the stock touring car. And then I believe we've got 4 heats of Formula 1. And then there's, I think, 5 heats of modified touring car. So looks to be the way that it's running. That might change after the resort later on. So we'll have all of that information out there. If you're just joining us, welcome. We are RC Racing TV. We're here this weekend at Wiener Neustadt in Austria for the EFRA 1/10th European Touring Car Championships. Brought to you in association with Infinity and Montec, and also EFRA, our media partner. If this is something that's new to you, or you want any more information on this type of racing, you can find details on the EFRA website, which is efra.ws. So watching this first heat of F1 cars going out, and F1 cars quite a lot different to the touring cars. F1 cars are rear-wheel drive for starters, so no four-wheel drive like the touring cars have got. They're also quite long for their width, so they tend to look like they've got quite a lot of understeer while they're going around. So really the key to being quick with an F1 car is to get as much steering as you possibly can whilst maintaining some degree of stability in the rear of the car. So you really want the car to turn in and pivot quite well through the corner, so that you're not bleeding off corner speed, because that's so frustrating as a driver when you turn in and you hit the apex of the corner, and then you've still got the car turned in and you're just waiting till you can pick up the throttle. You really don't want to be just holding off. So you know, the later you pick up the throttle, the less speed that you've carried through the corner. So really the key with these cars is maintenance of your momentum. Anything you can do to avoid scrubbing off your corner speed is critical, especially given that you're sort of relatively limited in terms of your horsepower as well. As in any sort of stock or spec class, you've got to get off the corner as quickly as you possibly can, maintain as much corner speed as you can. That lets you, it just makes the whole car much more efficient. It's not having to accelerate. You can normally pull a slightly higher gearing, so it's win-win then in that situation, because you've just got extra power all the way down the straight as well. So it's a definite benefit if you can get the car to maintain corner speed as best as you can do. So looks like a few locals here running this one. Roland Hoffman with the 7 car, currently the quickest. So let's see if we can pick up Roland. The 7 car, the F1 car's a little bit harder to pick up the numbers on, or can be. I think the 7 cars, this car just about head under the driver's rostrum now. It's the second of the 2 cars under the driver's rostrum. So he's just coming out onto the main straight now. So the second of the cars on the main straight is the number 7 car. I think so. There we go. He's just passed 1 car quite neatly. So you can see with how his cars are pivoting around the nose, every corner he's just edging away from the other cars, and he'll be closing in on a couple of other cars now. There we go, and he's just maintaining a really nice flowing line. He's not arriving at the corner and making any sudden movements. And that car looks pretty nice to drive, to be honest. It's doing exactly what he wants to. It's not doing anything completely random. He can put it on quite a nice line. He can attack the curbs with it. Let's watch him close in on some of the other traffic. You can see maybe a slightly wider line than some. He's let through coming onto the straight. But that slightly wider line that he's taking, it's a bit more flowing, and it's allowing him to maintain that corner speed. Again, it's one of the issues that you've got. You don't necessarily want to take the shortest sort of geometric line around the track, because that's going to cost you some speed. Otherwise, you just drive around the inside all the time. So it's about picking the right line. Is all about maintaining the right balance of distance travelled against the corner speed that you can carry. And it's also quite different as well. I mean, some drivers are running both F1 and touring car this weekend, and you might notice that later on they're taking visibly different lines with the two different types of cars as they're heading around the circuit. And that's quite a skill, to be honest, to be able to adapt between those two different types of cars within a couple of laps of one another, within a couple of practice laps. It takes quite a lot of practice to be able to get that done, get that right. So definite skill. Not everybody's fortunate enough to have it. I know certainly I always struggle trying to get round. Really, as soon as I change the type of car that I'm running, that's me knackered for most of the next race meeting. So I discovered that to my cost last week. Into the last 10 seconds of this heat. Just coming round. Everything still okay, Matt?
Hello, Daniel Stiefvater. Nice to have you with us. Hello to... they must have good handling, says Daniel. Some do.
Some do, some don't. Yeah, the touring cars tend to handle better than the F1 cars. The F1 cars are a little bit handicapped by them being designed to look quite scale and be a bit more of a scale representation of a proper race car. So because of that, they don't have they don't quite have the handling characteristics that an out-and-out race car that's been designed pretty much from the ground up as a race car would have. So when you see the touring cars later, you'll see that they definitely look a little bit more hooked up. No doubt helped by them being four-wheel drive, of course.
For 3 Ion, what's your thoughts on the Serpent 4X, considering getting one but unsure due to the slightly different style?
Serpent 4X. Well, I think they're on the 4X Evo now. It's quite a brave. It's quite a brave car, really. Designed by David Pierre, and the performance of the car is, it's absolutely second to none. When it's right, it looks absolutely fantastic. So I wouldn't have any concerns in that respect. It does look like there is quite a lot going on with the car, so it does, from what I understand, take a little bit of time to learn about the quirks of it compared to a conventional touring car. But if you've got the experience with a car, with setting up a car and how to build a good straight car, I don't think you'd have any issues with it. It's just that the fact that it is different, you are going to have a little bit less help out there with it. Trackside, there's less people that you can go to and say, hey, this is what I'm doing with my car. How can I, how does that relate to yours? If you see people that are running the more conventional cars, the X-Rays, the Yokomos, the Associateds, even the Schumacher is more of a conventional design than the Serpent is. You can kind of look at what people are doing with their cars and kind of get an idea about what you might need to change on yours when something is completely different, like the Serpent car, like the Automatics car. Although the performance is there and it's a completely valid route to take, you can find that sometimes you end up possibly heading off down a little bit of a blind path, unless you've got someone else there that you can use as a sounding board and work with.
Interesting. John Toman was asking, well, generally people are asking, what's the plan, what's the menu of entertainment for us this weekend, when are we going to be on? And bear in mind, it was only about 10 minutes before we came on that we realised or discovered that we were having qualifying today. There was qualifying, then there wasn't qualifying, and now there is qualifying again. So things are subject to change, aren't they?
They are, and I think that's sort of weather dependent as well.
Yeah.
Over the course of the weekend. EFRA events, or quite a lot of EFRA events, certainly the electric track events, a little bit different in that they tend to run through to finish on a Saturday rather than a Sunday.
Yeah.
Giving everybody time to travel home, because the last thing you want to be doing is travelling home on a Sunday night, getting in at sort of crack of sparrows on Monday morning, then getting up to go to work. So
it's very considerate.
It is. So the plan is that you get everybody here, you get everything done and out of the way by Saturday, and then everybody's got all of Sunday to organise getting home again. So that works quite well. But yeah, it's dependent a little bit on the weather.
But you can be reasonably sure that we're going to have one round of qualifying after this, and then we're going to have a full day of qualifying tomorrow.
We will, yes.
And we'll be with you bright and early tomorrow morning.
We will. That's a very good point, actually. I am just going to double check and see what the weather forecast is looking like for tomorrow. Okay. Well, having said that, the weather forecast is telling me it's raining. The reason
what, right now?
Yes.
Or tomorrow?
No, now.
We never trust the weatherman, do we?
No, we don't. The reason that this could be quite important is one of the things that comes to that can happen in the event of a tie break, because it's a round-by-round qualifying system. So if it's wet tomorrow, to a certain degree it doesn't matter. But of course, if you end up tied on points with someone, then you're going to come back to your fastest time. Now, clearly, if someone's done a time tonight in the dry, they're going to be quicker than someone in the wet tomorrow, you'd hope. If you can go quicker in the wet than you can in the dry, then yeah, you've got something fairly seriously wrong. But what that's going to do is it could come into play tomorrow if it is wet tomorrow, and we see people out there with their wet cars. It's going to mean that tonight's qualifying could be quite important, and the time that you set. So everybody's kind of going to have that in mind, that it's going to be important. If there's some rain forecast tomorrow, and looking at it there's potential for it. Having said that, there's potential for it today, and there clearly isn't any sign of any rain out there. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. So qualifying tonight could end up meaning nothing if everybody wakes up tomorrow morning and finds a really dry, sort of bone dry track that they can work with. But if they turn up to a wet track tomorrow morning, then it could come in quite handy for the tie break.
Indeed. Fur 3 Ion is back again. They only ask as they're looking at an update to their current car, and the options are X-Ray, T4, Yokomo, BD, MI6 or the 4X.
Okay, to be honest, I don't think you'll go wrong with any of those cars. They're all great cars from a recognised manufacturer, so probably your best bet on that is firstly, what one do you like the look of? If you want to drive a car, you're more likely to look after it, to maintain it, to want to put the time in to understand it. But also then probably you start to factor in what else is popular at your local club. What else have you got support with? What else can you get help with? If there's a bunch of people running another car, then it does certainly make life easier for you. But you won't go wrong with any of the cars really. So. If there is one that you've particularly got your heart set on, go with it. You won't be making a bad choice.
Yeah, that's
honest James's car sales advice.
That's echoed by fair few people, but Robert Jack says go the easy route. Complex designs are difficult to set up. That's kind of what you said, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. If you're prepared to put the time in, they're not a problem. They work well. They're a different solution to the problem of getting the car around the track as quickly as possible. Doesn't mean to say they're right or they're wrong. There's plenty of ways to skin a cat, as it were, and plenty of different ways to come up with things. I think some of the sort of compromises that are made during the design in order to get everything packaged in nice and tightly to give some of the benefits. The downside of it is maybe makes it a bit more complex to work on in some cases, or to understand how to work on it and what you need to be looking at. But again, if you want that car and you're prepared to put that time into it, go for it.
This is Group 7, isn't it?
This is heat number 7, yeah. So this is we've got Tony Wade in this one, amongst others. That's quite a few. Someone's just exited off the end of the main straight. I've just seen out the corner of the track. This is heat number 7. So still running the F1 class. I think that runs up to heat number 8, I think. So of the F1 class. So just see if we can pick out. Let's see if we can find Tony, car number 9. See where he's running. You will notice as well some of the F1 cars. They like to run replica paint schemes. So I think looking for the 9 car. Just watching them come around now. I think he might be. Or has he stopped? He may well have stopped, I think. So yeah, I mean, there's a variety of different F1 shells. Yeah, doesn't look like Tony's running around anymore, unfortunately. No, he seems to have stopped or briefly pulled off the circuit. Some of these F1 cars, there's a variety of different body shells out there for them as well, and some of them, drivers like to go in for the scale look. Just watching a sort of current Renault livery heading around on the track now, whereas some like to go for just the sort of race paint on there, or of course the very familiar Juan Can, the body shell painter to the stars.
Yes.
He's done quite a few. I think I've just spotted Tony Wade out there now. Actually, he's the sort of McLaren-esque car, the white and sort of fluoro orangey red. He's just about to head out onto the main straight now. So he's just coming off the end of the main straight. So let's run with Tony for a little bit, see how he gets on. He's had a few issues earlier on in the run, so he's obviously stopped and letting people get out of the way. And Tony's car looking a little bit unstable there. What it looks like, the sort of part of the issue, he's actually got a little bit of understeer on corner entry, and what's happening then is he's piling on so much steering lock that when he sort of bleeds off the speed, the front suddenly hooks up and it unsettles the rear of the car. So although it looks like the rear of the car's stepping out, what's actually happening is that he hasn't got enough steering in the car. And he's just having to sort of pitch the car into the corner, throw the car into the corner and destabilise it to get the car to hook up and go in. So if he sort of turned into the corner a little bit less aggressively, you'd probably find that the car would actually stick better and turn quite a lot nicer.
Let me see. I have to make good on a promise I made. Zachary David's been with us for 30 minutes and he's demanding his shout out.
Okay. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Zachary. This is your official 30-minute in shout out.
There we go.
Please stay with us.
Have we been on air for half an hour already?
I don't. What does it tell me? 45 minutes.
Really?
So yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, we have. The time is flying by.
It is.
Mirko Thalham is saying hello to everybody from Germany.
Hello, Mirko.
Hello, hello. How you doing? And he said something quite interesting as well. What is a spec tyre for TC?
It is it's the Volante, one of the Volante tyres. Bit of an interesting thing as well, because it's there's no tyre strategy involved this weekend, because there's one tyre per run, effectively. So you haven't got when you're on the issue of playing tyre strategy and knowing when to go out on new rubber and when to go out on old rubber.
As a viewer, it makes it way more interesting trying to work out when they're going to use the new tyres and when they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and as a driver as well, it's quite a valuable strategy sort of game to play, because you don't necessarily want to be out on new tyres at the same time as everybody else, because then you're going to get beaten by the people that are faster than you. But if you're a couple of tenths off of someone on pace, maybe on a new tyre run, that'll be enough to jump you in front of them. And with the round-by-round qualifying system, the way that works is sort of everybody's grouped by their time for that round. Quickest driver in the heat in the round will get 150 points, and then moving downwards, 149, 148, etc. Then you want to get the best round score that you possibly can. So it's definitely a valid point that when you have got a mixture of tyres, obviously with round, you'd expect everybody to be on new tyres for round one. So unless someone was to sit out the round, which is not unknown, it's been done, particularly if you make a mistake early on in your run, it's a valid thing to pull off to save the tyres. But obviously none of that this weekend, because it's everybody out on new tyres every run. The other downside to that is it kind of compels you to run new tyres in practice, because to make practice valid, you need a new set of tyres on every run. So that does help to bump up the cost a little bit for competitors. So maybe not brilliant from that respect.
Justin Chambers is being too kind. He says, best RC coverage ever. Thanks, RC Racing TV. Checks in the post.
Checks in the post, yeah. We try. We try.
And Kellen Conti's saying, man, I miss these days. But Kellen, what do you mean? These days are now. They're here. There's nothing to miss.
Yes.
Enjoy it. Do it.
Yeah.
If you miss racing, then just start racing again.
Just pick it up, start racing again. It's not difficult. There's many different classes, clubs all over the place. If you want to find out more about it, you can find details on the EFRA website, which is efra.ws.
And Michael Rancier says, I want one. Well, there you go. EFRA.ws. Find out more about 1/10 touring car, electric touring car racing. There's also 1/10 nitro, 1/8 nitro on track. And there's loads of other different classes. And EFRA are the governing body of this kind of sport, of RC racing. So go to efra.ws, find out more about this class of racing and all the things that they do, and other types of racing you can get involved in that are radio controlled.
We've got heat number 8 running now, this is the top heat of Formula 1. So watching Jan Rothiski with the 6 car. He's sort of multiple ETS champ. So just watching him, he's heading round. He's the sort of white and orange and black coloured car. He's just about to go under the driver's rostrum now. So let's watch Jan's car. We can see sort of the corner speed that he's maintaining with the car. So the car really not slowing down massively as he's flowing through some of the turns. You see the contrast with some of these drivers to what you see in a moment, which will be the bottom heat of modified touring car. So Jan looks like he's got a little bit in his pocket really from everybody else. Let's have a look over 3 laps. He is 48.5. Oliver Bootleneck is 48.6 over 3 laps. Fastest lap 15.988 for Jan, and and 16.1 for Olivier. So there's about a tenth of a second between them on fastest lap. So not a massive gap between them on pace. Certainly over 3 laps. How that plays out over 5 minutes is going to possibly be a bit of a different question. That's of course the other part of this game that you'll find. It's all right being quick over 3 laps, but one of the things that you can get drawn into unintentionally is go hunting for performance over 3 laps, and then find that you can't keep that up for 5 minutes. So ultimately, these guys will probably be the quickest out there, but you might see a different pattern emerge over a complete 5-minute run than what we're seeing over the 3 minutes. Three laps, 3 consecutive laps. And 3 consecutive laps, it's quite a difficult thing as well as a driver to put in sometimes, because you can feel the pressure building as you're driving. You know when you've put in a good lap, you know when you've nailed every apex, and doing it once is fairly easy, and then you do another one and you suddenly become aware that, hang on, I'm on a good run here. And then that's the point at which it's really easy to throw it away, to lose concentration, when you become aware that you've already pumped in 2 good laps. Trying to bring home that third one can be quite an art form. You've got sort of 2 choices. It's, do you just cruise it round and for a pretty average lap and play it safe, or do you absolutely keep the hammer down? And depending on how far into the run you are as well, that can have an effect on it. At the start, you've got maximum voltage in the cells. You've got freshly additive tyres there. That's when you've got the most grip. That's when the potential's there to do the absolute fastest lap times. So that's what you're going to be looking for. A bit later on in the run, you might sort of start thinking, yeah, you know what, actually, I've done 2 decent laps. I'll just be a bit more safe and bring it home compared to other people. But you'd kind of expect the top 3 or 4 in the heat after 2 minutes. You wouldn't necessarily expect the order to change as you get later on into the run when you're working on that three fastest laps.
Hello to Gary Gregory. Hello to Tony Truman, who's joined us.
Tony.
This is on road, but welcome along anyway.
Yeah.
James Hart says he's hoping you're having fun.
Yeah, I'm having fun. Yes.
And he's cheering on Elliot Harper.
Yes, that's James's Elliot Schumacher teammate. So Elliot is out later. I think he's in heat number 12 of 13. So yeah, Elliot was looking quite quick in practice earlier, just as we were sort of getting ready to go on air. Managed to have a bit of a watch of how the cars looked. So he's 1 heat down from the top heat, but he looked to be the quickest car out there in that heat. So if you're the quickest car in that heat, in sort of 1 heat down from the top, you'd be pretty disappointed if you didn't make the top 10 from there.
Michael Rancy is in Rochester, New York. That's the fellow that said he wanted one. You should go out and get one.
You will not struggle in the States to find places to race.
Exactly, yes. James Milbank. Hi from James Milbank in the UK, talking body shells. For the F1s, I run the Brawn shell with all the livery done with paint by Racecraft, who also do Luke Lee's shells. There you go.
Yes, I think Luke...
he was just out, was he?
Yeah, he was. And I think I spotted on Facebook he had some nice sort of Buzzing Hornets Jordans about that he had done. Of course, sometimes one of the problems is when you do an event like this, you have your nice race painted body shell, and then you turn up to the track and you become aware that the stuff that you brought isn't actually the right body shell to be on and running. So you're then sort of frantically running around trying to get hold of what you can, so that you can really run the competitive shell. So that's quite often why you see the one can specials. The other thing is, at this stage of the meeting in practice, you don't really want to be running the risk of ruining / damaging your expensively acquired race painted body shell. But if you run your normal shell, then sometimes if you've got a distinct colour scheme, it can give you a bit of an advantage. In that people know you. It becomes a bit like your signature feature. It's a bit like a racing driver's crash helmet. It's what everybody knows, and it's when they see that body shell appearing on the track, they know what the car's doing, rather than just a generic one colour body shell. So it can be quite interesting, that one. Just watching who we've got out here. I'm expecting Paul Pinkney to be quite quick with the 2 car. Paul's a very quick driver in the UK. Yeah, he's just heading round. It's the white fronted, orange reared car, just going under the driver's rostrum now. So he's heading through the chicane. It'll be the last of the cars on the main straight now. So these, you've probably noticed, they're quite considerably faster than some of the stuff we've seen earlier. These are the modified touring cars. So unlimited power, effectively. The only limiting factor is how hard you want to squeeze the trigger, really, and how brave you are with some of them. So some people like to have ridiculously powerful cars and not use them, but you can see Paul's just carved his way through the traffic quite nicely there. That's flowed quite well for him. It's always a bit of a concern as a driver when you're up there and heading round and you're catching a gaggle of cars. You're sort of wondering, how am I going to do? How am I going to cope with these? You know they'll get out of the way for you, but when you're catching 3 or 4 at once, you don't necessarily want it to hold you up either. So you've got 2 choices. You can either back off if you think it's safe to do so during your quest to set a few timed laps, or consecutive time laps, or you can just press on and try and get through them and get out in front of them and disappear off. Paul's chosen the latter option and has got himself to the front of the pack, and he's heading away from them. Looks like the green car behind him has cottoned on to what he's trying to do and is actually going to use Paul as a bit of a marker. Let's just see what number's on that green car, because it actually looks now like he's a bit quicker. I think it's the 1 car. Yeah, it is. It's Maite Solp, the Czech driver. So he's actually slightly quicker over 3 laps than Paul at the moment. Is 41.766 versus 41.861. Paul slightly faster over 1 lap with a 13.7. Those 2 drivers, the only ones. In fact, Paul's now just pumped himself to the top. So Paul's now strung together 3 good laps. Obviously, he was in traffic. He had clear track in front of him. Paul now catching some other cars. They get out of the way. So Paul and the green car that's following him. There's traffic in between them on the main straight, but these 2 looking considerably faster than anybody else in this heat, so you'll be expecting them to be bumped up, I would think, to a higher heat, this being the bottom heat of modified that we're watching at the moment. So yeah, kind of expecting those 2 guys to be bumped up the order a little bit later on. Comments still coming in, Matt?
They're all over it. I literally can't keep up with it. And you know what? We're being urged to name the track.
We're being urged to name the track.
And when I say name the track, I mean parts of the track.
Okay, yeah.
And specifically, well, we have a few fun. We're open to suggestions, but the ones that we need to do are Infinity and Montec. While we're at it, I'll thank Infinity and Montec for their support in helping us be here at this EFRA event.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I think Infinity would probably be sort of quite good for sort of the sweeper at the end of the main straight, because it goes on forever.
It's not a loop though. I was going to say an infinity loop.
Yes, it does seem to sort of go on for forever, that one. So
what's that? Infinity corner, infinity sweeper.
Infinity sweeper. Yeah, it's a sweeper off the end of the main straight. So that's directly beneath us. So I think we'll call that the
yes.
sort of,
it's like a ginormous smile.
Yes, it is. It's a big smiley face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can safely call that the Infinity sweeper on there. And yeah, trying to think, we need the Montec we need the Montec curve, don't we, somewhere?
Usually it's an M, but have we got an M? really got Montec?
Oh, well, you've sort of. I mean, the end of the track is almost like the top end of the track's
Down,
almost like an M
up,
shape, but it's
down.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The whole end. The whole.
it's the whole
left
end
side
of the
track.
circuit. The sort of the Montec end of the circuit that we're at. But yeah, it's sort of forming that shape, isn't it? There's no other M's there, so I think we'll have to sort of kind of christen that. And then in the middle, we've got chicanes then just in the middle of the circuit.
Which obviously we have to have an EFRA.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So
section.
We have to have an EFRA sort of chicane out onto the little short straight under the driver's rostrum. So I think that sort of chicane through there can be the EFRA chicane that we're adding to it. So we've got a few corner names, but any suggestions always welcome. So that's the first heat of modified done. So second heat of modified just about to go out.
45 seconds to start. Go to your start position.
So I think we spotted last time Jürgen Linsberger with the one car. He was quite considerably faster than everybody else in this heat. So let's see if he's going to be the same again. See if he's got a decent pace advantage over everybody else.
10, 3, 6, 9, 4, 8, 2, 20 seconds to start. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. Off. Car. 1, 7, 5, 10.
So Jürgen Linsberger pulls away at the front of this one, and already he's jumped out into the lead, and he's got more than the length of the straight lead over anybody else. So Jürgen definitely in the wrong heat. I would guess he's Austrian, so he's certainly familiar with this circuit. He's already going to start catching up traffic now. He's running the plain white body shell as he's heading through the exit of the Montec M, off down the straight into the Infinity Sweeper. Heading up behind the 7 car already as he comes through the EFRA chicane out onto the short straight into the Montec M. So already out on the main straight, Infinity Sweeper again. So definitely faster. He jumps past the 7 car. So Tony Ada gets out of the way. Yeah, quite a few Austrian drivers in this one actually. It's mainly consisting of Austrian drivers. There's 8 in here by my reckoning, with 1 German, 1 Frenchman. So yeah. So chances are you quite often find this at European Championship that you end up travelling all the way to a European event, or you end up doing a European event and you end up racing with a bunch of guys that you would do in your own national series. It's pretty inevitable. I mean, whatever Euros I've ever done, you always end up with a Brit final somewhere where all the Brits end up camped out together. So it does happen.
The nations are getting together. Jimmy Martin saying good luck to the British lads, while Hadrian Comtat is saying French power in all caps.
There we go.
Get behind your nations, get behind your brands, behind your teams, behind whoever. Let us know who you're supporting. And if you want us to follow anyone in particular, then give us some notice when they come out. We'll try and get them on camera for you. One word of warning though, that usually causes them to have an accident. So,
it does. The drivers can't hear what we're saying about them.
No, they can't. They don't know they're on there, but when they get on there, they tend to be cursed by the commentator.
They do. It has been known for the drivers to use us for sort of semi-live feedback as well. So yeah, quite often I have heard that occasionally they'll go back and sort of view back in the pits what we've just been saying about them. So that's why we try to be quite nice and quite polite about them. Doesn't always work.
Oh, the boss is on.
Oh, Nick's watching. Oh dear.
No, well, no, Willie.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Right. Okay. So,
EFRA, we're here. Yes, supporting EFRA, and EFRA supporting us.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think Willie's only just joined, so you might have missed. We've been shouting EFRA.
We have.
from
We've been shouting
rooftops.
details of the EFRA website,
And how to-
efra.ws.
Indeed, and how to spread the knowledge of how to get involved in this kind of racing. There's a bit of a crowd taking place at the end of the track near the Montec. There's some benches over there. There's some people just enjoying the sunshine. There's no rain. That was false news. Fake news.
That was fake news, yes.
Yeah,
I think the rain was definitely fake news.
Beautiful sunshine, so much so that Harry has requested a hat. He's now wearing a hat to shelter his head from the heat. So, yes.
Yes, I've taken a step back inside the tent, a little bit further inside the tent, but I can still got quite a good view of the track myself. So
Charles Butterworth is supporting you. He says, "Go James Stewart."
oh, thank you, Charles. So Charles, one of the proprietors of one of the shops in the UK. So he's more into his large-scale racing now, I believe. But yeah, no Charles. So it's good to see familiar names catching up with us and watching.
So we've got the infinity loop, or the infinity curve, or the infinity sweep.
No, yeah, at the end of the main straight.
Yeah.
We've got the sort of EFRA chicane in the middle on the way out into the onto the short straight just under the rostrum, and then sort of the top end of the circuit forms the Montec M, really. So you've got sort of the three parts of the M, if you like. But I think we've almost got sort of like Montec 1, Montec 2, Montec 3 as part of it. But we'll keep on top of that over the weekend. Just looking at sort of possible passing places, actually, and I think overtaking spots for the final. I think clearly off the end of the straight, if you get a run on someone coming onto the straight and you carry some good speed, then you could be brave and try and hang it around the outside of someone and carry some speed around. But then I think certainly with a modified under braking at the end of this sort of infinity sweeper, as you're heading down into the sort of hairpin immediately in front of us, I think that's going to be a really good opportunity for people. So this heat is just finished. So we're about, that was heat number 10. So heat 11 next. So let's see if Ollie Payne decides to go out this time. Got a bit caught out last time, I think, and made it out with 1 minute to go and put in a pretty impressive effort, if we're honest. He pumped in 1 minute. He managed to do 4 laps and launched himself up to 4th overall in the heat, which when you look at some of the guys in the heat, that's no mean feat. So yeah, good going there from Ollie. So Ollie crowned the 1/12 stock champion back in April at Racing Arena Limburg. So this will be quite interesting to watch.
That one's fine.
See Michael Bird out there just putting down Ollie's car. So you'll see as well, you might clock the mechanics putting the cars down. They're quite careful to put the cars down on the racing line. I don't know if it's visible on the camera. Yeah, it is visible on the camera. It is visible on the feed. You can see there's a definite line that it looks like it's a bit of a lighter colour that you can see on the circuit. So the reason for that is that the tyres, they've been freshly additive. You don't want them picking up any dirt, dust, debris from the side of the track. So the cars are always put down on that racing line. Try and keep the tyres as clean as possible. That's ideally the line that they're going to be following whilst they're driving around. So that is exactly what we want. I think we might be having a few camera dramas, are we? Or are
We've lost a camera, and we lost 2 cameras, and that was due to the wind beating down on the tent that we're in.
Okay.
And one of them has returned, but one of them has not returned.
Okay, so we are apologies. We're flying on one. We're flying on one locked-off camera at the moment, just while we attempt to get to the bottom of this technical gremlin. It's one of the reasons that we always like to go out during practice if we possibly can, that we can iron out any bugs.
It's a practice for them, and it's a practice for us.
It is. Are we back?
Stand by.
Stand by.
Apologies for that.
We
Everybody,
are back. Are we back?
we're back.
We're back. Okay, that's good. Apologies for that. Yep, we were
just saying, weren't we?
we were just saying that yes, it's a good job that we have these practice sessions because it does allow us the opportunity to iron out any little bugs that we're having. Is everything now back up and gremlin free, or do we still have?
We're missing a camera still.
We're missing a camera.
But I'll go and have a look at that in a second.
Okay.
Chris Lovely says, why has the racing started on a Thursday and not the typical Friday through to Sunday? I think we did address that earlier, but Chris only just joined us.
Okay. Well, the reason, Chris, is that it gives everybody the opportunity to travel home on a Sunday. Really, if everybody's trying to get home on a Sunday night, it then makes it a little bit awkward for people having to go into work on the Monday and stuff like that. So yeah, it's ended up sort of starting on a Thursday, and we'll have qualifying on the Friday, finals on the Saturday. Gives everybody a nice opportunity to have a fairly relaxed trip home.
Jamie Hickin. Has the track been coated or will it?
The track was sugar watered earlier, actually. They have got quite a funky...
Very interesting contraption, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got quite a funky sugar watering machine. We'll see if we can, if that's in use later. I don't think they're going to sugar it again today, but we'll see if we can get a shot of that in use tomorrow morning, because that was quite interesting to see. But yeah, that track has been sugar watered. So let's see if we can pick up Ollie Payne's car for a little bit and unashamedly follow the Brit. Is he still circulating? Yeah, he is. I'm just watching him come off the end of the main straight now. He's the white, pink and black car. So he's just heading through the EFRA chicane out onto the short straight now. He's the last of those three cars. So through the Montec M, out onto the main straight now and into the Infinity Curve. So this is Ollie Payne's car that we are watching. Ollie currently running in 6th overall in this heat, so let's run with Ollie for the last 40 seconds or so of the heat, see how his car's doing. I think his dad Steve will be tuning in and watching us.
30 seconds, guys, 30 seconds.
Let's have a look and see what Ollie's car's doing. Okay, so it doesn't look terrible. It looks like it's washing out slightly in the middle of the corner, maybe. So don't know. Maybe the roll bar's a little bit stiff, not transferring weight across the front of the car quick enough. Might be worth a bit of a look. Maybe slightly softer front spring. Maybe something as simple as that. To just to help the car to tuck in. The car doesn't look terrible. It looks quite well balanced. It's just sliding at the front. He's having to knock off a bit more corner speed than he'd like to, probably. If we get an opportunity to have a chat with him later, we'll see if we can confirm that with him. But that's what I'd imagine his words would be, that the car is sliding a little bit at the front end. And he's having to take off a bit more corner speed than he would like to, ideally, just to get the car to hook in, to turn in. So now we have heat number 12. So we've got Elliot Harper out in this one. So if James Hart's still watching, here's your man, James. So we'll have a look at this one. I think we identified earlier on that this heat was the designer's heat. So we've got Robert Peach, the designer of the Mugen Seiki car. We have got Aaron Rose, the Schumacher designer, and David Erbar, the Serpent designer. So 3 of the cars being run this weekend. They're the guys responsible for them actually getting them out on the circuit as well. So just seeing the cars being put down on the line again. So mechanics very careful to put the cars down on the line. And they form around. The other thing that you'll see them doing is you'll see the cars sort of stacking themselves, because although there is a start line there, you don't want to necessarily put yourself off the racing line. So if you know that someone's off in front of you, you can legitimately pull up behind them. So you normally end up seeing sort of 2 rows of 5. If there were 10 cars out there, which it looks like we've only got 8 cars, you'd get sort of two rows of 5. As it is, you've got a couple of rows of 3. out there. So just watching them head off round now. Just still having a few camera issues, so you'll have to forgive us that we're only seeing the one camera at the moment, or the wide locked off camera shot at the moment. But let's see who makes the good progress at the start. Only one lap completed so far, so second lap completed. Elliot Harper currently top of the timetable. Viljami Kupfanen goes top. This will settle down after a couple of laps, so just waiting to see where everybody falls out. Elliot completed 3 laps now. So Viljami Kupfanen takes his automatics to the top of the fit. In fact, no, he's not automatics anymore, is he? He's Mugen now. So let's see if we can pick up the 9 car of Elliot. He's put himself to the top of the field. He's the green coloured car. Or there's 2 green coloured cars, but I think we've got the right one. Yep, this is Elliot's car. So Elliot's car got the black wing at the rear of it. So Elliot's car goes through the Montec M, out onto the main straight into the Infinity Curve. About to head up through the EFRA chicane, and Elliot a bit greedy there, took too much curb and managed to put it on its roof. So slid up and slid down. So that'll be some nasty skid marks on the roof of his body shell. They'll polish out later. So Elliot's still fastest at the moment. Let's see who else we got in this one. Let's see if we can pick up the 3 car of Viljami Kupfanen. Let's see where the 3 car is. I think he's just heading out through the EFRA into the Montec M now. I think he's the last car coming out of the main, his first car on the main straight. So let's have a look. That was the 2 car I was looking at. That's David Perez. Okay, we've got the. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's the plain blue coloured car. So clearly the key to success in this heat is a plain coloured body shell.
Down, 2 to go, 2 minutes.
2 minutes to drive.
Elliot still quickest over 3 laps so far. He's 39.3 against Viljami's 39.4. Those two quite considerably quicker than the rest. 39.669 for Patrick Gollner, in 3rd in the heat. Elliot's best lap, a 13.0. It's not actually the quickest lap of the heat. Robert Peach has done a 13.082 compared to Elliot's 13.092. So there is definitely some pace in Robert's car out there. In fact, Dominic Vogel's just done a 12.972. So that's a real quick lap. He just needs to put together 3 of them. So let's see who else we can get in this one. David Airbar doesn't appear to be running. So let's see if we can have a look at Dominic Vogel with the 1 car. Let's see how he's managed to do that extremely rapid lap. He's the all-white coloured car, the number 1 car, just through the EFRA chicane now, out onto the short straight into the Montec M. Off down into the Infinity Curve. So into the last 30 seconds, so let's run with Dominic and just see. He's the only driver to go sub 13 so far in this heat. So could well have been a bit of a hero lap, I think, possibly. Oh, Matt's back.
Hello.
Hello.
I haven't fixed it.
You haven't fixed it?
No, and you know what? There's some kind of electrical charge running through the camera because it zapped me.
It zapped you.
It zapped me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that might have to remain out of action for today, and we have a
Well, it is Group 12. How many groups are there?
13. So this is the penultimate heat.
We're having a break, aren't we, while we reseed? I might go and unplug it,
Okay.
fiddle with it, plug it back in again.
Turn it off and turn it back on again.
Yeah.
Do you work in IT?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, just discussing strategy there. And, okay, so we've got the top heat going out now. So, these are the recognisable guys. So, Bruno Coelho, Ronald Volker, Yannick Prumper, Frederick Sudoff, Alexander Hagberg, Mark Reinhard, Alicio Minucci, Chrissy Krapp, and Victor Vilk. Drivers in this top heat. So, some pretty recognisable names out there.
Seconds to start. Go to your start position.
30 seconds to start. Come on, Marshall.
30 seconds to start. Start. Order. Car. 1, 6, 3, 5, 9, 4, 8, 2, 7. 20 seconds to start. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. 1, car. 1, 6, 3, 5, 9.
So this is the top group, Group 13.
It is, yes. So Bruno quickest last time out, and showing already his intent. He's put the hammer down early. Bruno always super fast, running his sort of familiar paint scheme. Chrissy Krapp looks like he's, in fact, Ronald Volker to the top. We'll let it sort of settle down after a couple of laps and figure out whereabouts everybody sits, because it's 3 consecutive laps. So Bruno looks like he's managed to put in 3, so he's the only 12.9. He's the only no, sorry, Alex Hagberg's also done a 12.9 as well. So not many drivers going sub 13. So only seen 3 drivers go sub 13 on a single lap so far. So some pretty impressive. Oh, in fact, no, a bunch of them have just done it now. So that's gone out the window. So maybe as the track's cooling slightly, this is the top heat. So you'd kind of expect them to be the best drivers here. You're expecting this to make up the majority of the top 10. I think maybe the top 2 or 3 from the previous heat would think they've got a good opportunity to get in here as well. But running around with Bruno's car at the moment, and he's just edged himself away from Ronald. Ronald Volker running in second. Just having a look now over 3 laps. They've actually done identical times over 3 laps, 38.912. Both of them doing an absolutely identical time. Bruno doing it first, so he gets to the top of the timesheet. 12.901 fastest lap for Bruno, 12.915, so not a lot to choose. Only thing I would say is, looking at where they are on the circuit, Bruno looks to be able to do them a little bit more consistently at this stage, at this moment in time, than Ronald does. But these two, great competitors, and fighting it out for the ETS title normally, along with Mark Reinhard. And actually now looks like Ronald's starting to just edge in on Bruno, take a little bit of time out of him. Bruno's still quickest, but I think Ronald will be quite encouraged by this, that Bruno's not getting away, and he's sort of looks like he's got the pace for the first minute or so. But then Ronald's looks like he's checked him, and he is, maybe going to have the opportunity to come back at him a little bit. So already catching and passing, well, I was going to say traffic, but Bruno passing traffic, but the traffic, in inverted commas, is actually Alex Hagberg, that sort of multiple European and world champion, so it feels a bit wrong to call him traffic.
I've heard of that name.
Yeah, it's it doesn't quite sit right, but of course that's not a complete lap that he's put on him, because Alex started off a few seconds behind, so it's. But that's still some pretty impressive time that he's put on him. Just to give you an example of actually how much pace Bruno and Ronald look to have in their pocket, though, Alex is running 4th overall. So Bruno from Ronald with Mark Reinhard in 3rd, and Alex in 4th, and Alex already having been lapped by Bruno, so been passed by Bruno on the circuit. He's caught up, the split that he's made on him. But Ronald definitely edging towards the back of Bruno. So I think Ronald's going to be quite encouraged by this, and actually just watching the way that they're going. If we can sort of move back one car to the sort of putty blue car that's on the main straight now into the infinity curve. Yeah, that's it. The one that I've just put the curse on that's just fired it off into the scenery. That's not gone well. Yes, apologies, Ronald. Ronald's car been picked out of the. Oh, in fact, it's been picked out of the weeds, and I think the marshal is making the universal sign for "It's dead, Jim." The sort of slit throat gesture. So Ronald with that slightly dejected look as he does the step back of shame on the rostrum, and sort of dejectedly turns his transmitter off. There we go. But there we go. So he stepped back and leaving the rostrum before the race is ended. That's not quite the done thing. I wouldn't necessarily expect that, but okay, it's practice. So it's not normal etiquette to leave the driver's rostrum and disturb them whilst that's going on. But so everybody now finished. So that is the end of qualifying.
Practice.
So that's the end of practice. Sorry. Sorry, got a bit ahead of myself there. So just looking. Yeah, Ronald's car looked decidedly second hand. He's got a wheel nicely tucked up in the back of his body shell. So looking like a rear hub, or some kind of rear hub damage, possibly rear wishbone. So nothing too major. I'm sure he can bolt that together and sort that out and get that back flat again. It's just a little bit annoying when you do something like that right at the end of a practice session, when your car's pretty good and feeling pretty good, and then you've got to rebuild it, and it's always a bit of a question mark when you go into qualifying. You're confident in your workmanship, of course, but it's just introduced a bit of a question in your mind that is the car going to be absolutely spot on and absolutely flat.
Not the start you would want, really.
No, it's not ideal. I think we've got a little bit of a break, haven't we? We've got a tiny little gap.
Yes.
Before, whilst they reseed the heats.
Yes, we need to do some technical things, but also reseeding is happening now.
Yes, it is.
So
I think we probably sort of disappear off air for a little bit and then come back for the start.
Well,
qualifying.
yes, we'll still be here.
We'll still be here.
And we'll point the camera at something that's moving, like somewhere near the driver's stand or the people, just so that you can see the stream is still happening. There won't be any sound, I'm afraid, but we will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, we're back. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. We are back. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear myself then. So I could hear my. Yeah, I couldn't hear myself in my headphones. Yeah, that was a shorter break than we anticipated.
Very efficient.
Very efficient. Yes. So they've very efficiently turned that round and reseeded it. Down to 12 heats now, rather than the 13. So they managed to compact everything and compress everything, so getting the drivers up onto the rostrum. So this is the first round of qualifying. So this is the stock touring car group. So let's watch everybody go out and all the marshals getting out into their positions. So it's been...
After this heat, first qualification heat, the cars have to stay under the rostrum.
Okay, sounds like the cars are being impounded after this as well, going in under the rostrum. So we'll have a look and see what's going on there. Okay, so breaking news on our camera issues. Matt is on his way to try and fix it. So we're going to try and bring you the second camera angle. So you've got myself and Harry. Harry's just going to move off the lock camera. So I think the yellow car, the two cars actually, going to be the lead car, which is Pavel Stazivecki. So he's moved in front of Julian Jost. So nothing fishy going on there. It's just Julian felt that Pavel was a little bit quicker, so opened out the way and let him go. So Pavel just edging away the front of the field. He's actually running second in the heat. Lukas Max in the 5 car. Looks like he's actually the quickest car out there. So what's happened there is the 5 car, I think it's the red coloured car that we've moved on to. What's happened there is he's started off 5 seconds behind the leader, behind the first car. And he's now less, and he's just had a bit of a coming together actually. So, that's really cost him. So that's always the danger as you're trying to make your way through traffic. You can't be too impatient because that's all that it looked like. It was a little bit of a misunderstanding between the two drivers. You can quite often get this at European events as well. At a national event, you tend to be driving with people that you know and that you're familiar with, and this is the first round of qualifying. So after a reseed from practice, this may well be something that they're the first time that a couple of cars have encountered each other on the track. So that's always a bit of a danger. So the yellow car, Pavel Stazowski, the Polish driver, is with the 2 car back to the front of the heat. So he is just going into the Montec M section. Out on the main straight, so let's follow him. He's the all yellow coloured car. He's come through the Infinity Sweeper and just through the EFRA chicane onto the little short straight back into the Montec M. Out onto the main straight, chasing another car down. So you'll notice that all of these cars very closely matched on top speed. They're all running 13.5 turn motors, so you wouldn't expect to have tremendous horsepower advantage. You'll see probably more of a discrepancy in power between the modified cars later, where really it's the size of your cojones that control how fast you are and how much you want to risk it down the main straight. Here in the stock class, the spec class, the motors are built to a set of construction rules. Which means that the performance of them is all very similar. So you might take a car length or two out of someone down the main straight, but you're never going to just blow past them, if all things being equal. If you do, then one of you's got something very, very wrong. So it's quite a good leveller, really. And stock racing's it's something that it's quite a specialist class. It's very easy to drive around the circuit. It's quite difficult to be quick at it, to be consistently fast with it. So really popular at club level. It's a little bit easier to control for people than the modified cars are. But into the last minute now, Pavel's still leading this one. So let's sort of bring it home with him as he's closing in now on some traffic. So been a great drive. He's sort of edged away from the 3 car of Andreas Kronsteiner. So they started out 1 second apart, with Pavel being the 2 car and Andreas being the 3 car. And there's now about 2.9 seconds between them. So there's a decent gap between them. So 3.9 seconds on the actually on the track. So best part of 4 seconds on the track, but on the clock itself, because they started out 1 second apart, there's 3 seconds between them. So now coming around to catch the 1 car. So we'll have Pavel catching the car that started immediately in front of him to put a lap on him. 5 minutes is up, so just going to hear drivers start being called for the finish. So Julian's going to be thinking, oh no, he's done the right thing. He's let him go. But yeah, it's never a nice feeling to be lapped by a car that started off behind you, to have it come around and pass you again. That's always a bit of leaves a bit of a sour taste in your mouth.
2 minutes to start from group number 2.
So heat number 2 about to go. Have to excuse the wind noise up here. Probably picking it up a little bit on the microphone. We are quite lucky. We thought we were going to be bringing you this from a sort of rain-infested quagmire, really, but it's dry. It was wet for practice, but the circuit's now dry.
One minute 20 to start. 1:20.
So here we go, heat number 2 of the stock class. So with there now being 12 heats, I think the split's working out as 4 heats of each class as an overall.
1 minute to start.
I think possibly. Oh, just looking at the rain forecast coming in, and we're gonna 1/2 Where are we now on the time? We're at. We might just miss it. It's yeah. If it's gonna rain, there's some big clouds coming in, sort of over the mountains at the back. I don't know if we can see this sort of very cinematic shot that we've got here. Harry was getting quite excited about the prospect of this, of what this view is going to look like tomorrow. So that's the reason why he's the cameraman. He's seeing all the potential for all of the good shots coming in. So see if we've got any recognisable names in this one. Can see Danny Booker, car number 9.
2, 1. Start. Off. Car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So everybody away and counting quite nicely. So already got 1 car pulling out. Well, I think we're following the 9 car of Danny Booker at the moment. Let's see where he pops out after a couple of laps. Now remember, this isn't timed over your 3 best consecutive laps. Now this is an actual 5-minute run. And this is against everybody, so they'll get all of the drivers in the stock class, and they'll mix all of their times in. So if you're in heat 2 but you don't do a time, you can get beaten by someone that's in the heat below you. So it's really important when you're running round by round, really, to, unless you've got bits hanging off the car, to get it to the end. So Danny making a little bit of progress as we're watching him. He's got himself stuck up behind another car that's running at a fairly similar pace. It's the 8 car that he's behind. So Danny in front on the clock of Roberto Fabiano. It's Alexander Stocker leading this with the 2 car. Let's see if we can spot the 2 car as he's coming round. It's there we go. We've picked him up. There's the sort of orange. In fact, I think that's defined as fluorescent red. That body shield colour. It does look more orange, but its definition is fluoro red. So he's making his way past some of the traffic quite nicely, and moving out of his way quite comfortably. He's coming through the Montec M now, out onto the main straight into the Infinity Sweeper. So really nice line that he's holding through there as he comes through the EFRA chicane. So that's a lap with your heat leader, Alexander Stocker. Car looks really well balanced. That will play in his favour when it comes into racing. It looks like he can ride the curbs without it unsettling the car too much. So the car just looks really nicely balanced. Doesn't look like it's going to give him any sudden frights. He can do exactly what he wants with it. It's a really nice place to be, provided that the car's quick when you're doing it. When the problem comes when you're driving a car and you think, yeah, this feels really fantastic, and everybody else is faster than you, because then you're at a bit of a loss to know exactly what to do or where you go to find your extra pace. But he's catching traffic and closing in on them quite nicely. So car lifting off the corner quite nicely as well. So he's got some good punch as he's coming through the out onto the main straight one more time. You can see pretty similar on straight line speed. He's carrying a bit more speed through the Infinity Sweeper at the end of the straight. That's where he seems to be gaining the most time. So he comes out onto the straight one more time behind him, and it's here you can see that he's gaining his time. He can hold a much tighter line when he turns in. So it looks like he's probably using a little bit less steering lock, and the car's just not scrubbing the speed off. So that's always very useful in stock as well. And there we go. And there was a bit of a hairy moment there for Danny Booker, actually, as he got a little bit surprised as Alexander Stocker got a run on him coming onto straight. Danny did the right thing. Danny backed out of it, but that in itself can knock you out of your rhythm. And you can already see the gap that he's had pulled on him and how much time you lose. So there's a couple of cars sat out of this one now, which is the 1 car and the 6 car have pulled off to one side. A little bit of a strange choice unless the car's actually broken, because everything is mixed in together. Everybody's mixed in together. If the car's still got wheels attached to it during round by round qualifying, you really need to get to the end, especially as you're not limited on the number of tyres that you can use. You've got a set of tyres for every round of qualifying for this weekend for all these competitors. So it's not a tyre strategy thing of trying to save tyres. So yeah, I'm not sure I'd have pulled off the circuit. I'd have just kept going, because if anybody else breaks it, you never know when that score is going to come in handy, especially when we've got the prospect of some rain possible tomorrow. So this could well be your best time that you set. So this could end up being used in a tie-break situation if all your good scores are set in the wet tomorrow. So it looks like Danny's just pulled off the circuit as well now, so less and less cars. That's always a good thing to see as a driver as well. The less cars you've got out there, the less traffic you've got out there, the less chance of getting tangled up with somebody else, with anybody else. So still following the leader of Alexander Stocker as the clock's finished now. So just everybody going for their finishing times as they're coming round. So I think everybody just about to be called finished. So there we go, we are done. So Alexander Stocker takes that one. So just bringing that back round into the pit lane. Nice run there for Alexander Stocker. So about ready for heat number 3.
To start. Come on, guys. Take a march for position.
Just waiting for heat number 3 to go out. This is the this is actually the top heat of stock.
Slow sliding. Thank you.
1 minute to start. 1 minute.
1 minute to start.
So managed to compress everybody into 3 heats for the stock class. So Max Mackler, the quickest driver over 3 consecutive laps, will be starting off as the 1 car. So we'll run for him for a little bit.
Seconds to start. Go to your start position.
40 seconds. 40 seconds.
30 seconds to start. Start. Order. Car.
So I'm not seeing the defending champion here, actually, this year from Alexander Duché. Not running in the stock class this year. So not quite sure why that is. We'll try and find that out, see if we can get a bit of an update. Would have thought he would have fancied defending his title if he could.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. Off. Car. 1, 2, 3.
So we go into the Infinity M, not Infinity M, Montec M, down onto the sweeper for Max. He's already showing his intent. He's got some a pretty decent gap already. His opening lap is a tenth up on anybody else, which in stock racing that's quite impressive. So it makes a little mistake in the Montec M, off around the Infinity Sweeper, and I can see where he's gaining the time. It's directly beneath us. It's in the Infinity Sweeper. It's right at the exit of it. It's this part of the corner here. If you watch him run over that curb, compared to everybody else, they're all giving it a wide berth. If we just sort of focus on the end of this sort of curve as he comes round, you watch he puts 2 wheels over the yellow part of it, and then you're watching all of the other cars. They're a couple of car widths wide of the apex. I think the 6 cars just taken that Max Mackler line over it, but he's the only one that's actually taking that line consistently every lap. So that's one of the places where Max is gaining some time. I think we're just focusing on it now, and a few drivers are tightening up over there now and are sort of gaining the confidence to put 2 wheels on it. But they're not doing it every lap, and Max is. So there's definitely some time to be gained there, and Max now closing in on. Let's have a look at whose car he's closing in on. Just notice actually Jan Rethieski's not out here either. That's a bit of a strange one. You'd expect him to be up there and competitive. I wonder if the fact he's also got Formula One, he's out in the Formula One class in a couple of heats time. I wonder if that's playing on his mind, and he's got something to do there. So Max moving his way through the traffic. There we go, there's that line again, and the following cars obviously cottoned on to the fact that, there's some time to be gained there, so starting to adopt that line. The other thing that can affect your line sometimes is your perspective from the driver's rostrum. When you stood in different positions, you've got 10 drivers up there, so everybody's got a different line of sight to where they are on the track, so it stands to reason that if you're at a different, if you stood in a different location, I'm just having a look to see where Max is stood on the rostrum. He's pretty much smack bang in the middle, so he's going to have a decent view of the left and the right hand end of it, whereas someone on the far right of the rostrum is going to have a better view of the right hand end of the circuit, but maybe down at the left hand end they're going to give up a bit of time. You stand in the middle of the rostrum, and you're not terrible at any one part of the circuit, you're not quick at any one part of the circuit either. You don't really lose any time particularly. It does average itself out, but where you stand on the rostrum can definitely have a bit of an impact. And that can come into play particularly for finals, when the sort of the done thing, the gentlemanly thing. Some sections operate it as a rule, but car number 1 for the final gets to go up on the rostrum first, so they get the first pick of where they want to stand. And if you're car number 10, you can end up with you end up with the dregs. Basically, you end up stood in the position that no one else wants to stand. So you can have a completely different perspective over where you've stood. And woof, that was Max is he's definitely taking some risks out there. Martin Hofer running second. Just having a look to see how far down he is on. He's about 3.5 seconds down on Max so far. So Max laying down his intent and showing what he wants to do. Last 30 seconds to go, so Max will be really pleased with this. It's it's a really good start. He's got away well. He's had a fairly clean run. All the traffic's been quite respectful, and almost catching him by surprise there, as you make a mental sort of note as a driver when you're being caught by another car. You start plotting where you're going to let them through to cost yourself the least amount of time, and sometimes you don't realise how much quicker another car is than you on a particular part of the track, and yeah, that can catch you by surprise. The last thing you want to do as a driver is interfere with the run of the leader of the quicker car, and it's completely unintentional. You're just driving through a corner at a rate that you think is good, and then you suddenly become aware that it isn't. So that's something that can catch you out for sure. But Max Mackler takes that from Martin Hofer. So in the end, that was fairly comfortable. So moving on to Formula One now. So how's things looking, Matt?
We are looking pretty good now. I've rescued a shot. We have it back. We can now see the end of the Montec M.
We can see the end of the Montec M.
And
that's good.
it goes on to this main straight, which then meets the infinite loop.
Yes, absolutely. Good time to point out we are here with our event sponsors this weekend, Infinity and Montec. Thank you to them. Also thank you to our media partner EFRA for inviting us here. We are RC Racing TV. You can find more information on this or indeed any other class of racing on the EFRA website, efra.ws.
Kanav Bashim has a great question. Any idea, not that might not be able to answer it, any idea how much contact is considered legal in RC?
Oh, ideally none. Sorry, I've just seen an F1 car pop up in the air without seemingly hitting anything. I don't know quite how that happened.
As you were saying.
Yes, we're back. we're back. How much contact is allowed? Ideally, none, but it depends on the class of racing that you're doing, really. And it's about respect between the competitors. Sometimes it's about having a laugh with your mates, and sometimes that involves, a bit of door banging with them, and whilst you're circulating. So it depends on the level that you're running at and the class you're racing in, really. So, is this us in the? Is this? Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
You can see it makes it look a lot brighter out there than it actually is, because we all look quite dark, silhouetted.
Yes, we all look quite dull.
It is starting to become a little bit more overcast now.
It is, yes. And here we go. There's our view of the sort of the exit of the Montec M
Yep.
down the main straight. This is the Formula One class that we're watching, and yeah, definitely not as quick as the touring cars that we've just been watching. Certainly over a lap.
I like this. Tony Wade, he came on and he said that RC Racing TV is the best, and then he came back on and said, "I'm on in a bit, lol." And sure enough,
Here he is.
here he is.
Car number. Well, no, here he isn't.
Oh, spoke too soon.
He's supposed to be. Tony,
Well,
you've
this
made
is
a bit of a
awkward.
critical error. Tony, yeah, you're supposed to be on, mate. You've made the slight mistake. If you're watching us on YouTube,
You're late.
you're a bit late.
He's then said, "Go on, Booker." And I think what he's done is he's got caught up with the stream and watching everything. He's forgotten that he's supposed to be part of it.
Quite possibly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know listening to us is infectious.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not ideal, Tony. That's not gone particularly well. I just heard actually. I think I was questioning why Jan wasn't out in that last heat, and I've just seen him sort of go past the marshalling stand, and he was making some indications he wasn't aware that they dropped a heat. So he believed he was out heat later. So of course, having done the reseed and getting more drivers out there, we're down to 3 heats of stock cars, and he was thinking that there was 4, and that's what's caught him out. That's why he hasn't gone out. So no doubt he'll be out later, and obviously that's lesson learnt that he's missed his slot, missed his opportunity, and again that could be important tomorrow. If we do get this sort of wet weather that's being forecast, because he hasn't now set a time in the dry, so he hasn't got a good time to fall back on, to count on. So that could cost him, but we'll have to wait and see.
We will. And if you've just tuned in, you're watching the EFRA 1/10 Touring Car and Formula One Electric European Championships in Austria, somewhere about an hour outside of Vienna.
Yes.
What's the place? Where are we?
Wiener Neustadt.
Wiener Neustadt. Welcome along to Wiener Neustadt. What a fantastic facility. The organisers have been nothing but efficient and helpful getting us set up, so we're very grateful to them. We're very grateful to Infinity and to Montec for supporting us and helping us be here, and of course to EFRA for running this event, presiding over it while the club run it, and allowing us to be their media partner.
Absolutely. So always good to join, to have you joining us really for different classes of racing. Plenty coming up over the next few weeks.
You've
as
got
well.
a busy few weeks, haven't you, James?
I have, yeah. I think next weekend you'll be joining me in Italy for the Rallycross B Euro. So that's 1/8 nitro powered buggies. So about as different as you could get to this form of racing. And then in I think 2 weeks after that, back in Italy again for 1/8 gas on road. So yeah, lots of stuff going on. So multitasking.
Yeah.
So definitely multitasking with that one. So always good. So always good to bring people new classes of racing and stuff they might not have seen before, or indeed anything they're particularly interested in as well.
It is a huge change. It's almost a different culture. You get people that do, say, the 1/8 buggy, for instance. There's a few drivers that do everything, like Martin Walanka. Hupo is very diverse in his skills, and Bruno Cahello also. But then you get Alexander Hagberg, very much an on-road driver. Mark Reinhardt, he did win a Euros in 10th scale off-road, so he's done a bit of off-road. But you kind of get your on-road crowd and your off-road crowd, don't you?
You do, yeah. And drivers tend to sort of specialise in them. It's very, very few and far between drivers that are... Yeah, a good driver is a good driver, don't get me wrong, but to be at the absolute top of it, it's pretty difficult. There's not an awful lot of drivers that really excel. I mean, I think the one that probably stands out is Sushihara, who he sort of had the first touring car world title. He won that back in 2000. And then he won the Rallycross World Championships in 2008, I believe. That he won that. So yeah, there's that's a pretty diverse skill set. No other drivers. I mean, there's Britain's very own 4.5-time world champion David Spashett, who he's won. He's won nationals. He's won off-road nationals, but not won any world titles in an off-road class. So yeah, a good driver is a good driver, but it's very diverse. There's lots of different stuff going on. It's that windy actually. Harry's sunglasses are just getting blown on, so apologies for some of the wind noise you might be picking up on the microphone.
Yes, this is live.
It is. It is very, very
it's
live.
Very evidently live, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yes.
But it wouldn't be the same without all of you lot commenting along and joining and watching. So keep them coming in, please. Whether you're watching on the Facebook live stream, which is very easy to do by going to Facebook. You can take us with you on your phone or your tablet or whatever device you choose to use to watch internet content. And of course we're on YouTube as well. And adding Facebook this year has been a really great way of streaming to a wider audience, because we get in front of people that don't necessarily follow us, and often they don't necessarily follow RC. So it's great to see the difference in the YouTube conversation, which is very much, and I quote White Star 10 and Rule 5.310. He goes on to quote rules out of the EFRA handbook, and then you go over to Facebook, and it's a lot more kind of entry-level banter, and I love both. Actually, it's great to have both streams of conversation going.
You know what? It's going to be quite interesting as well. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to be interested to see if if the viewer numbers or what happens to the viewer numbers in about 5 minutes' time.
Really?
Yes.
Because
22 men are about to chase a bag of wind about in Russia, I think. So that'll be interesting to see if that has an effect. But here we go with the second heat of Formula One.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start.
we've got plenty of Germans watching though.
1,
Yes. Well, they've got nothing else to watch now, have they?
No.
5, 6,
Ouch.
They can make a short trip across the border to come and see us.
Yeah, why not?
It's not a million miles away, are we?
No.
So watching these F1 cars go around, you'll probably notice the first thing that strikes you if you haven't seen these before is they don't look as planted as the touring cars. They're quite a unique thing to drive, and it's a real skill. Again, we touched on it earlier about having sort of specialist skill sets, and the F1 really does fall into that category. If you're a quick driver, you're a quick driver, but there are some real F1 specialists out there that sort of excel at the class, and sort of solely run within that class, and it's a growing class all the time as well. You get some people sort of choosing to run proper scale replica paint schemes and recognisable replica paint schemes. Other people going with their sort of more usual race paint. But Wilhelm Pichler leading this one at the moment, or Michael Pittner now back to the front of this one. So the 1 and the 2 car running pretty close with each other. So let's see if we can spot the 1 and the 2. I think they're just coming out through the EFRA chicane now, the 1 and the 2. Okay, so one of them the all pink car, and the other one. That appears to have a leopard skin print on it.
No, it cannot be.
It does. It looks. There is. I'm convinced as that
The
went
one that's
underneath.
just overtaken the pink?
Yes, I am convinced that has got a leopard skin print on it as that comes past us.
That's brilliant. If
It is. It has got leopard skin print on it. That is that's genius. That's I don't even know how to. I'm lost for words at that. That's just unreal. So we have a leopard skin print livery on a car, and actually it's not looking too terrible. You're keeping it on the island fairly well. goes through the Montec M and exits out onto the main straight into the Infinity Curve. All the way through there. It's coming through into the EFRA chicane now. So the car's looking pretty decent, and Wilhelm Pickler leading the heat with that car. His best lap 17.092. 7 car actually is the fastest by about 2.5 tenths actually. Michael Haputli, the Swiss driver. Let's see if we can find the 7 car, because he's done some storming laps. Let's just see as he comes past. Okay, so this is the 7 car. Okay, so this is the sort of Renault Livery car that we're watching. So done some real fast laps. Now you'll notice body shell on this car, if you watch it as it comes round, does look a little bit different. This is the looks like it's the Protoform F26 body shell, which is styled on the Williams FW26, which was the famous walrus-nosed car of 2004. So what they've done there is basically identified that the F1 cars tend to understeer a little bit, so they've deliberately made the nose of the car quite wide, and then sort of realised that the nearest thing it resembled was this the Williams car from 2004. So they've styled it upon there, and that car definitely does look like it's got a little bit more steering than anybody else. And he's just running. Let's see if he's actually now the quickest car in the heat. He's done another sort of 16.7 second lap time, so really quick compared to everybody else on a single lap. Definitely got some time in his pocket, which is helping him run at or near the front of the field. So into the last 30 seconds. So let's bring it home with Michael. Comes through to the last 15 seconds. Obviously, with the slower lap times that the Formula One cars do, you're not getting as many laps in your within your 5-minute run. So time's finished now, so when car number 1 crosses the line, it'll be called as having finished. So everybody on their final laps now. Just coming up for their finishing times. That's definitely not the time to put it on the grass. I think that might even been the leopard skin print car of Michael. Sorry, that was Wilhelm Pickler, wasn't it? The leopard skin car.
By the way, we're an hour out. We've got another hour before the football kicks off.
7 o'clock. Oh, sorry. Right. Yes. Okay. It's 7 o'clock UK time, and yes, it's not 7 o'clock. Okay. That is a good point. Sorry. Yeah, I forgot that. Yes, we're operating on a different clock. Well, we're not, but yeah, we're running on CET, aren't we?
And caffeine.
We're running on CET, caffeine, and yes.
Adrenaline and chips.
Yes. Indeed. You'll have to forgive us, it's been quite a long day. What time was it? It was, well, we've been operating since, before 1 o'clock in the UK this morning, isn't it? So we're quite a long way into the day so far, I think. Mental capacity. Oh, Harry's been about since 7 a.m. yesterday. So. True student style, fueled by Red Bull Pro Plus.
Well, he got up in a bid to make it to the plane that
he did.
Was then cancelled as he was not far away from getting to the rendezvous point.
Yes. So
bad luck there.
Yeah, that didn't work well. That's sort of one of the reasons why we were a bit late on air. Well, it's the main reason we were a bit late on the air today, wasn't it? That we had to we had to make some fairly last minute arrangements to get here, and of course flying into Vienna Airport the day before the Austrian Grand Prix also makes hiring a car quite interesting as well. So, but we did it. We're here. We're here bringing you this coverage. We are RC Racing TV here with Infinity and Montec. So thanks to them for their support. Also here with EFRA, our media partner. If it's the first time you've seen this or you want any more information on this or any other form of RC racing, you can find all the information on their website, efra.ws. You're joining us in heat number 6 of the F1 class. Oh, sorry, this is the third heat of the F1 class, but heat number 6 of the round. There's 12 heats in total. So, this is the sort of final track action for each of these heats for the day. So, one round of qualifying tonight. We've had some practice earlier, which was reseeded or reseeded everybody.
It's great to have Freddie Sudoff watching along.
Oh, Freddie's watching, is he? He's down in the pits. Okay, that's good. So good to see. It is amazing. It always surprises me how many people are sat there sort of watching us in the pits. Obviously, they can do it on YouTube, and yeah, I suppose it's a useful thing to do whilst you're sort of working on your car. Harry's making the signal that suggests that there's some moisture.
Oh.
Out there, and
rain.
Yeah, I'm just seeing some spots of it. So there is some precipitation. Now this makes things interesting now for F1.
No.
Because it's not going to affect the stock touring cars because they've all had a run on a dry track. It's not really going to affect the modified cars because they'll all have a run on a wet track.
That is thunder.
Is that thunder? We don't want thunder because thunder we will have to stop because going and standing on top of a tin shed with a big aerial in the air.
Is that thunder? Or is it just
No, I think that's
heavy
the wind.
wind?
I think that's the wind. That's not thunder.
Okay.
That's not thunder.
False alarm.
No, if there was thunder, then we'd be we'd be looking at having to stop. But it's weird when you're driving. You're aware of rain. Particularly, I'm just having a glance along the rostrum, and there's quite a few drivers wearing glasses as well. Not that much out there at the moment, but if you see a couple of spots of rain coming down, or if you feel it, a couple of spots of rain coming down, you don't know how much grip you've got. You're never aware of whether the car's going to stick, so every lap becomes a bit of a voyage of discovery. As you turn in, and it does start playing on your mind a little bit. It's like, ooh, the heat before me have just had better conditions than I've had. So, am I going to set a better time than them? It does look like the threat of it has faded a little bit. So, maybe not too bad. Having said, then it wasn't going to affect the modified. It could affect the modified if it stays dry for the first couple of heats, and then the rain comes down. Because then you've got the quick guys later on not having the opportunity to set a time on a dry track, whereas the guys out in the early heats do have an opportunity to set a time on a dry track. So we'll keep an eye on that as it develops. You can definitely feel some droplets in the air, and like I said earlier, that can be a bit disconcerting as a driver to know that that's there and to feel that while you're on the rostrum, and you're never quite sure how much that's going to affect your car on the track. But everybody seeming to cope with it okay so far.
Tom Massey's on.
Okay.
And he's saying, do you guys know, or are you able to explain the idea or timeline that led up to the F1 class being fairly slow compared to a lot of other forms of RC? I just think they're undrivable, isn't that why?
Yeah, I think so. Basically, the F1 car is a scale representation. It's more of a scale representation than other cars. And if you look at what an F1 car is based on, it's an F1 car is a pan car, so like a a 1/12 scale or a Pro 10 car. It's kind of a mixture between the two. And basically, in an effort to give it its scale appearance, its dimensions are wrong. It's the width of a 12th car, but the length of a 10th car. So the sort of thing it shares its dimensions with is, you know, more like a canal boat kind of thing, pretty much. So
it's not got rear steering now, has it?
It hasn't got rear steering, no. But because they're designed to look very realistic, they're not the ideal shape to get them around the circuit as quickly as possible. You would, if you wanted the car to be as absolutely fast as possible, you'd have the car wider, and then you would have, you know, an awful lot more traction, and you'd have the car cornering a lot faster. So it's a bit of a nod to scale realism, really, which has sort of impacted on the shape of the car, and that's why that's why they're not as quick. If you make the car any faster, it just would not handle. It just wouldn't steer, basically.
Form over function, then.
Yes, pretty much. It's a function, and it's something that you know, the drivers realise fairly quickly that if you make the cars too fast, they just become undrivable. So it's sort of a bit of a sensibility thing, really, that they've gone for in making sure that you can get the car around.
Those dark clouds gathering in your shot now are not particularly misleading. That is a fairly accurate picture of what we see. Still plenty of light around the track, but it does look overcast. It does look forebodingly dark blue up in the sky. So we wait to see what happens during modified qualifying, which will be kicking off fairly soon.
I think this is the top heat of F1, so I think these guys are probably going to get away with it. They'll have been stood at the bottom of the driver's rostrum, and that's a horrible feeling when you're stood there and you can feel a couple of droplets, and you're just thinking, you know, no, please don't, you know, please hold off for a couple more minutes. I want to get out there and do a run. You don't care if it hoses it down while you're out there marshalling, you get a bit soggy, but that doesn't matter. You can go back to the hotel and get changed or whatever. But you really do not want that sort of changeable condition to affect you whilst you're out there and waiting. So Jan Rothiski offers the one car, Martin Huddy offers the two.
One. Start. Off. Car. 1, 2, 3.
Apologies for that. We're back with you now.
We are. So back just in time. We had a brief pit stop before the F1, the top heat of F1 started. So back now, and everybody heading off round. Jan Rothiski looks like he's leading this one away from Martin Huddy. So give it everybody a couple of laps. Looks like the sun's breaking through, trying to break through those clouds. That is a very welcome sight. We don't want any of this to be affected by the rain if we can avoid it. Jan Rothiski leading this then after a couple of laps from Martin Huddy. So sun, it's now quite bright actually. So hopefully that's the threat of rain gone for today. That'll probably throw up another slight issue for the drivers because they might not have taken any caps or anything up onto the rostrum, and all of a sudden they'll have the sun in their eyes. But I'm sure they'll live with that. So Jan going away quite nicely at the front of this. His best lap is 15.766. Martin Huddy next up on a 15.87. And then you're down into the 16s for everybody else. So Jan's got, other than Martin Huddy, he's got sort of quarter of a second in his pocket. So really nice advantage to have. And his average lap 15.9 is, it's better than pretty much everybody else's fastest lap. So that's always a little bit disheartening as a driver to see that someone's got that much of a pace advantage. So we're watching Jan off through the infinity curve. He's just coming through the EFRA chicane now and into the Montec M at the top end of the circuit, out onto the main straight. This car looking nicely hooked up. It turns in, it carries a nice amount of corner speed. So Jan got a lot of experience driving these Formula One cars and knows how to get the best out of them. He's asking it just what he needs to out of the car to get it to turn. He goes through the Montec M, out onto the main straight again. Just seen a couple of droplets of rain again, but it shouldn't affect it. Oh, having said that, there's definitely some more coming down. Let's keep an eye on the lap times here to see what they start doing. There is definitely now some rain. There's definitely some moisture in the air now, so keeping a very close eye on the lap times. Last time round for Jan was 16.0. Let's see what happens. 15.8, so it's not affecting him at the moment. Let's see if anybody else slows. Martin Huddy slowed up now to a 16.3, so Jan that time round, best part of half a second faster than anybody else. Let's see if he can continue at this pace. 16.0 that time, but that couple of tenths might not be representative of the of anything caused by the rain. I think that might just be a slight mistake from him, but definitely some rainfall in 16.0. So he slowed down slightly. Martin Huddy 16.0 as well, so no real issue. We've got about a minute left to go for these guys, so they'll be hoping that they can get to the end before there's any significant rain. If it is going to come at any point during this last round of qualifying, this is exactly when it's best for it to happen, immediately at the end of the F1 class, just before the modified class, so that everybody's got an entirely equal opportunity. So couldn't have really planned it better if we are going to get the rain coming. It'll open everything up a little bit in modified, I think, but at least it's equal conditions for everybody, and you've got no one sort of saying, you know, oh, what if I got a run when it was dry? What if I didn't? And having that affect the result. So still 16.0 from Jan Rathowski, so not really cost him anything into the last 15 seconds. So the rain's not presented him with any great problem. Martin Huddy still running second, so the seedings obviously work well here, because running order is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Car 5's made a mistake at some point, then it's 8 and 9. So pretty much as they went off in the seeding order, apart from car 5, who's made a bit of a mistake and dropped back a little bit. So seeding definitely worked right, and that just goes to show that everybody got a clean run in, had an opportunity in practice. And of course, with it being a longer lap time that you do with an F1 car, when you comes to your seed in practice, you tend to get a better opportunity to put in a few clean laps, because you're not catching traffic as often, because you're in a longer lap time. Effectively, the track becomes longer. When you're going to set your lap time. Of course, it doesn't become physically longer, but there's more space on the track because it's taking you longer to do a lap, if that makes sense. Probably not, but
it does.
It does, yeah. So there's more space out there, so there's more of an opportunity. So into modified. So we got any interesting comments? People enjoying the F1?
We're dragging in more of the off-road crowd. We've got Marco Baruffalo watching. Hello, Marco.
Hello, Marco.
Welcome to you. This is on-road racing.
Yes.
Yes. Alex Thurston's watching. He's an on-road guy, but a nitro guy.
No, Alex runs electric as well. Alex has been known to run more at club, but he keeps his thumbs in. No, Alex does keep his. No, he doesn't keep his thumbs in. He's not. Alex is a steer wheel driver like me, so we're a bit odd in the UK that we drive steer wheel. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. Most of the UK run sticks, so rather than steer wheel. So here we go, heat number 1 of modified. Damien Giddens off 1. So fairly distinctive body shell of Damien Giddens. And yeah, not sure where he was going there actually. I think thought he saw Elvis, but actually just might have been overly harsh on him there, because I've just seen a few cars make that mistake. So I don't know if it's a little bit more slippery there. He's got it hooked up now, so maybe just a little bit more slippery than they thought. The reins, it's dropped off, but yeah, I don't know. He was the first car to arrive there. Last time he was out on the track was about an hour and a half ago, so that would feel.
When the wind is continuing, when the wind stops, we're maybe lucky, but it's not sure. Okay. But when this wind's coming, there is.
One day down, Portugal.
Michael Herzog leading this one with the 2 car then, so got in front when Damien Giddens made his mistake earlier, and he's continued to edge away. This is the pink and white car. It's just flowing through the exit of the Montec M off down the main straight into the Infinity Curve. This is the 2 car we're watching, and yeah, takes an interesting line there about hop the curb quite nicely, and I think he'll get away with it once, but he don't want to be doing that every lap. He's properly ragging that car around. That doesn't look necessary. There's a lot of energy going on there, and I think he'll be quite glad that he's only using this set of tyres once, because the cars are bucking and squirming about. It's got some pretty immense traction, but he's bullying it around really. It's the whole thing's moving about quite a lot underneath him. He sort of pitches it in at the end of the straight. Obviously, with a modified, you've kind of got the power to do that. You're not quite so worried about the conservation of your corner speed. You can afford to scrub off a bit more speed. We've had a big accident at the end of the straight. Leader gets away with it and sort of passes underneath the car, and that was the 6 car. Or that was Chris House actually. So that will condemn him to a bit of a rebuild later. So all of the drivers getting a bit of a reminder really from Pierre, just to calm it down a little bit, because it's getting a bit frantic out there, and it's easy to do when you're on a good run. You know you're on a good run to start taking too many risks. You do one of 2 things. You either think you're on a good run and try and push it a bit further, or you realise and you think you want to bring it home. Neither of them tend to work that successfully. Bringing it home works, but you don't set a very fast time as a result of doing it. So you've just got to keep on heading round and cruising round if you can. So Michael Herzog still leading this one from Damien Giddens. Michael's obviously found some pace between the seed in practice and qualifying, because he's a 13.751. Damien Giddens just sneaked into the sub-14s with a 13.997. So some sort of quarter of a second slower. Only just made it into the sub-14s, and quite comfortably in for Michael Herzog. Still seeing little specks of rain falling. I think we're probably going to get away with this, and just seen a bit of a spin there for Chris House as well. He's got something very clearly broken on the back of his car. So yeah, Chris House has decided he's had his chips and pulled into the pits. So there we go. That's Chris's car parked up. So back now with the lead car, this sort of pink and white coloured car. Michael Herzog, as we come into the last 15 seconds. He's through the Infinity Sweeper, just about to come up through the EFRA chicane into the Montec M. Out onto the main straight one more time. And you can actually sort of visibly see he's taking quite a sensible approach with a modified car. He's looks like he's picking a braking marker somewhere at the end of that sort of Volante banner. He's getting out of the throttle, coming onto the into the Infinity curve, and it's allowing him to take a much tighter line. I think most of the other cars are keeping it fairly pinned there, and you know, trying to carry as much speed as they can, but it's unsettling the car all the way through the Infinity Sweeper, and they're not carrying as much corner speed. So I think the slow in, fast out mantra seems to be the way to go.
Hello to Marcus Bergland. He's prepping his 1/8 off-road car for a race on Saturday, and he's enjoying our company, which is fantastic. We're enjoying the fact that you're watching along with us. I just had a word with the organiser, who they have had word from people about 20 kilometres away saying there's very, very heavy rain there. So there's a chance they're concerned that it's going to hit us.
Okay.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens. We might get away with it.
We might. I mean, we've got...
We're at 9, aren't we?
We're at 9 of 12. So we've got another 4 heats left to run. I mean, it could have big implications if, you know, if that hits just as the top heat go out.
It's been a wasted... it's been great extra round of practice.
Well,
or what?
I don't know, but...
Will it be cancelled?
I don't know. There'd be a team managers meeting, I would guess, but... yeah, I mean, potentially you're going to have the quick... If the quick guys don't get an opportunity to put in a run, you're going to get people with low scores that wouldn't ordinarily get low scores. You're going to get people from sort of heat... the second and the third heat down getting maximum points for the round, potentially.
Yeah.
That can be undone tomorrow, but they're going to have done a time potentially on a dry track, which the top guys, if they haven't got a dry track to play with tomorrow, aren't going to beat. So then when it comes to a tie break, if any of them ended up tied on points, you could end up with a very funny looking A final if it all comes, if the whole thing plays out. So we'll wait and see. We'll keep an eye on it. There's some rain in the air, and like we said, we're hearing reports that about 20k away there's some pretty heavy rain coming down. But have to wait and see how that plays out. And I think the organisers are going to be hoping that they can get to the end of qualifying without there being too much rain, and without it greatly impacting on anybody. But if it happens, it happens. So have to wait and see. So Tim Coman leading this one with the 4 car. So he is... Just see if we can pick up where he is. I think he's the all-white coloured car out on the main straight now. No, we've got the 4 car. Where's the 4? Okay, he's the orange coloured car. So watching him, okay, into the Infinity Sweeper. So again, he's using that sort of braking at the end of the straight approach. So definitely he's put it on the grass. So a bit of an over rotation. Looked like on the entrance to the EFRA chicane, he just hooked a rear wheel on the curb, and it just over rotated the car onto the grass. He got away with it. He kept the throttle pinned. And it kept him going, kept him turning, but he's lost a little bit of his rhythm, and he's had another quicker car go past now. Let's just have a look at that. That's the 6 car. That's Remy Galland, who's actually gone to the front of the heat now. So that's the sort of white front, yellow rear car on the main straight now. So into the Infinity Sweeper. We've just put the curse of the commentator on him, because he's just put it on its roof and bounced it back, landed on his wheels. So just heading out onto the main straight one more time. Through the EFRA chicane. So these 2 cars look to be the 2 of the quickest in the heat. definitely feeling more drops of rain in the air. So we're going to get. I'm convinced we're going to get rain. I think the question is when, and if we can get all of tonight's qualifying done before the rain comes, and has any great effect on the on the overall results. But the drivers will be conscious of this as well, because those of them that are on a decent run are going to be, they'll be rubbing their hands together. I think all of the, as they come down off the rostrum, they'll be praying it stays dry for the next minute and a half, and then they'll be doing a rain dance as they come down from the rostrum, wanting it to throw it down so that the guys behind them don't get an opportunity. There's definitely more of it in the air now. I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times to see if it's visible. We've had a sort of drop from 13.3 to 13.5, so nothing definable that couldn't be put down to a bit of a scruffy lap. 13.9 that time, so this might actually be, let's just see, have a look and see, 13.9. I think this is actually now starting to affect their pace. They're consistently dropping off. They've all dropped off by about 4/10. So let's just see if anybody can do another quick lap time. 13.8. So I'm pretty certain that at the moment it's not absolutely destroying their run, but this moisture in the air is definitely starting to affect the lap pace of the cars by the looks of it about half a second from them. So yeah, 14.1. So yeah, they are definitely dropping off compared to what they were doing earlier. I mean, the best lap time of 13.3 and now at 13.9. So yeah, half a second-ish. You would expect to drop a little bit of pace over the course of the run. Probably less so in modified than you would in stock, because you're not power limited. With stock, you'd expect to do your best lap right at the start of it when your cells are completely fresh. But I think the critical thing is to keep going, and these drivers going to be happy to see the end of this, and then they'll be, as they're coming down from the rostrum, they'll be seeing the rain as they're there on the rostrum. They'll be seeing the droplets of water coming down, and they'll be hoping that it now gets heavier as the race is finished. They've done what they need to. They've done their times. So the three come. Matej Sulk gets that one in the end. Really close, actually, by 2/10 from Remy Gallons right at the end. So, heat number 10 now. So, got 3 Brits out in this, by the looks of it. Aaron Rose, Ollie Payne, and Paul Pinkney. So we'll keep an eye, see what they do, see what they manage. Sorry, we're just rearranging some of our cables and pulling them in to make sure that they're kept out of the rain. So this is going to be the sort of acid test to see. There's definitely moisture in the air. It's definitely falling. So we've just got to see now if they can get out and do a complete run. I can see Danny Booker's got an armful of British cars. Something you get. I mean, Danny's a Yokomo driver, but he looks like he's pitting there for Aaron and Paul Pinkney. So you always do see the sort of national teams pull together. In their case of BRCA, everybody sort of mucks in and helps everybody. So a bit of a different feel sometimes to that you get at national events. Everything's still good, Matt?
Everything's fantastic.
Everything's fantastic. That's good.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Start. On. Car. 1, 2, 3.
So this is heat 10 of the EFRA European Championships in 1/10 track electric. So we've got touring cars, both modified and spec, and we have the Formula 1 class as well. 3 European champions will be crowned this weekend, and this is the first round of qualifying, and we're in the modified. And we're running from this, which is heat 10, through to 12. So stick with us for the next couple of minutes, and let's hope, fingers crossed, we don't get rather wet between now and the end of the stream.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I did that.
You did that, yeah. So
I'm not above that at all.
no, not at all. So that's that's good. That's interesting. Got to have a few puns dropped in there. So looks like we've got Ollie Payne leading this one with the 5 car. That's the white fronted, black centre, pink rear car. He's just going through the exit of the Montec M out onto the main straight now. As he comes through the Infinity curve. So Ollie Payne making some good progress. We know Ollie is a very quick driver. He's the sort of reigning 1/12 stock champion. Very different class of racing, indoor class of racing, but Ollie making some good progress here through the field. So he started off as the car number 5. So he's now not taking the lead on the track, but he's leading on the clock. He's got a lead of about 0.3 of a second over Sascha Klug, who started out with the 2 car.
130 down, 330 to go. Sascha Klug in the lead, Ollie Payne in the 2, Andreas Galati in the 3, Jürgen Hitzberg in the 4, Paul Pickney in the 5.
So Ollie's still leading this one. In fact, Sascha Klug leading this one now, but him and Ollie sort of trading times. There's about 1/10 of a second between them, so nothing in it really. So let's see if we can pick up the 2 car, Sascha Klug. I think he's the sort of minty green car. I'm not quite sure how. I mean, it's like a spearmint green almost as he heads out the Montec M. He's through the Infinity sweeper now. So let's run with Sascha for a few laps and see how his car looks. Obviously, they're running a few seconds apart. They started out 3 seconds apart, so you're getting the positions update as they cross the line. So when we say that they're running sort of within 0.3 of a second of one another, you won't actually see them together on the track because they started out 3 seconds apart. There's now 3.3 seconds between them on track. So Sascha's just got a pulled out effectively 0.3 over their starting position on there. But lap times look good, so they're down at sort of 13.4s. So that sort of threat of rain, but it's here. You can see it.
Undeniably.
You can see that there is precipitation.
It's actually, you can't really see it on the camera. It's deceptive. It looks a lot brighter on the camera. Harry's obviously corrected it so that it looks nice for you, but actually it's raining, and it's actually raining. At one point it was raining towards us as well. No, it is raining towards us.
It is raining towards us, so we've all taken a step back inside the tent, apart from Harry, who is bravely...
He's cable tied to the pole.
To the tripod. So, yeah, Harry can't move. Harry can't take a step back because he'll lose his camera. Or you'll lose your camera. So, this is a bit of a balancing act, really, for the drivers to tread. Let's have a look at the gap as they come around this time. You might suddenly see, in fact, Andrea Ghilotti has all of a sudden popped up to the front of this. So, looking at the 3 of them, there's less than 1/10 of a second between the car 1, car 2, and car 5. So Andrea Ghilotti, where's he? He was the 1 car, so he can't be very far in front of the 2 car that we've been following, because they only started a second apart. So in fact, and Ollie's off the track. Can see Ollie's off the track. The rain is definitely coming down now.
Surely we're now getting to the point where the top guys are going to be saying this isn't.
They're not.
No.
No, they won't come out. Here we go. We're starting to see drivers pull off the track now. They realise they're not going to set a time now in the round. So you've got all of these guys that are sat on the roster. I mean, let's just have a look. Last time round, now we're really starting to see this. I mean, Sascha Klug, his best lap was 13.469. Last time round, 19.5.
Yeah.
So the track is definitely now. It's wet. I mean, you can see that they're babying the car around, and they want to get to the end. You can see it on the camera now. And that's it. That's everybody. Okay, so modified qualifying, I believe, may well be done because I don't know if anybody else is. There's no point in anybody else going out, really.
Yeah, it's gonna be a break. Let's see what the race director says now.
So qualifying modified. Stop. No. Yep. No further qualifying rounds today.
Okay, so just hearing the call put out in the background, that is it for qualifying. So, yeah, so qualifying is done for the day. So, obviously, no one's going to set a time, I would imagine. Right, okay, so modified, just heard the call there that modified doesn't count. So they're going to, none of the runs,
Yep.
none of the modified runs are going to count.
So we got the stock in.
We
got
got
the Formula One in.
Yep.
And so those 2 rounds count.
Yes. So they will now. I would guess there will be a team managers meeting to decide how many